That everybody gets to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, feeling whatever way they want to feel. When you got your hand out for other people's money, it doesn't.
Suggested that Qerim's exit felt deliberate, possibly intended to highlight tensions or drama behind the scenes.
On September 15, 2025, ESPN fans were blindsided. Molly Qerim, the longtime host and steady anchor of First Take, announced that she was leaving the network after nearly 2 decades. The news spread like wildfire, and the shock was immediate. For years, Molly had been the calm voice amid chaos, the professional moderator between some of the most opinionated and loudest figures in sports media. She wasn't just a host, she was the referee keeping the madness on track. Her journey with ESPN began back in 2006, starting from digital segments and fantasy football reporting before she climbed her way up. By 2015, she was hosting First Take full-time, replacing Cari Champion, and from that moment, the show exploded. Under her leadership, First Take became ESPN's crown jewel, a morning powerhouse that pulled in hundreds of thousands of viewers daily. Molly balanced egos, diffused tension, and somehow managed to hold her own beside Stephen A. Smith, who was both the face and fire of ESPN. That's why her resignation didn't just surprise fans, it rattled the entire company. According to the initial report from Sports Business Journal, she was supposed to leave at the end of the year after turning down a contract extension. But within hours, Molly posted an Instagram story confirming the news, and she hinted that the announcement had leaked early. "The news came out earlier than I intended," she wrote. That single line told everyone that this wasn't a carefully planned goodbye. It was damage control. And then came the bombshell. The next morning, Stephen A. Smith opened First Take alone. No Molly, no guest host, just him. "Last night she abruptly resigned," he said solemnly. That one word, abruptly, set off alarms everywhere. According to Stephen A., this wasn't a slow farewell. This was a sudden exit that blindsided even him. He went on to say he was saddened by her departure, calling her a friend, a partner, and someone he had leaned on for years. It sounded like a heartfelt tribute, until you realized what he didn't say. Because Stephen A. also made it clear that he knew more than he was letting on. "The details are none of your business," he said. "Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it? No." That's her story to tell. Coming from a man who built his career on giving opinions about everything under the sun, that sudden restraint spoke volumes. Why so careful? Why so vague? That's when the speculation began. Industry insiders and social media detectives immediately started digging. Why had Molly walked away from such a successful show? Why had she been so quick to confirm the story once it leaked? And more importantly, what did Stephen A. really mean when he called her exit abrupt? Hours later, Stephen A. took to his podcast, The Stephen A. Smith Show, and gave fans a clearer, though harsher, picture. "It was a contract negotiation," he said. ESPN didn't want to lose her, but in the end, she made a decision to walk away effective immediately. That was the confirmation everyone had been waiting for. This wasn't about creative differences or career shifts. It was about money. According to multiple reports, ESPN had offered Molly a pay raise somewhere in the range of $1.50 to $2 million annually. She turned it down. Insiders claim she wanted closer to $8 million, arguing that her decade-long role as moderator and host had been crucial in boosting First Take's ratings to record highs. For context, Stephen A. Smith makes around $20 million a year, including bonuses and production deals. Molly, despite hosting the same show, reportedly made around $500,000. The disparity was staggering and, for many fans, infuriating. Still, the drama didn't stop there. ESPN executives, including president of content Burke Magnus, later said the exit was accelerated because of the leak. The original plan was for her to leave gracefully at year's end, but once the story broke, they agreed to cut ties immediately to avoid months of speculation. Publicly, Magnus downplayed the situation. "There's no controversy here. No shoe left to drop." But privately, people weren't so sure. Then, days later, Stephen A. returned to his podcast and delivered what fans now call the shade heard around the world. "We don't get to define our own worth," he said. "We don't get to decide our own value unless we have the leverage to do it." He claimed he wasn't talking about Molly directly, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Here he was, speaking about leverage, worth, and career perspective mere days after his co-host walked out in a contract dispute. The connection was obvious. He continued, "When I negotiated my deal, I had the numbers. I had the ratings. I had the revenue. Because everyone answers to somebody." That line hit like a thunderbolt. It wasn't just a business lecture, it was a veiled critique. He was implying that when he sat at the negotiation table, he had leverage because of his proven value. And the unspoken message? Molly didn't. For many, it sounded like Stephen A. was mocking her, telling her that she had overplayed her hand and lost. "It can all evaporate in a snap if you lose perspective," he warned. Fans immediately connected the dots. Molly lost perspective. She didn't understand the hierarchy. And in his eyes, she paid the price. The backlash was swift. The hashtag #StephenA_throwshade started trending. Fans accused him of arrogance, of being dismissive toward a woman who had helped elevate First Take for a decade. Others defended him, arguing he was simply speaking facts about the industry. But for most viewers, it was hard not to see the power imbalance on display. The $20 million man lecturing his $500,000 co-host about perspective and leverage. Former ESPN analyst Marcellus Wiley went even further, suggesting that Stephen A. might not have advocated for Molly during her contract talks despite his immense influence. "If you've worked with someone that long, you fight for them," he said. "You help them get what they deserve." Whether Stephen A. did that or chose to let her walk remains unclear. But karma moves fast in the sports world. Within a week, reports surfaced that Fox Sports had reached out to Molly with a potential deal worth $2 million over 3 years. It wasn't $8 million, but it was validation. Proof that she had other options. Proof that she did have leverage. And suddenly, Stephen A.'s lecture on knowing your worth started to look more like misplaced arrogance than wisdom. Still, this saga revealed something much bigger than a workplace feud. It exposed the deep-rooted gender pay gap in sports media. How could the host of ESPN's top-rated morning show make less than 5% of what her co-star earned? Even with Stephen A.'s star power, the imbalance was glaring. Fans pointed out that First Take's success depended as much on Molly's composure as on Stephen A.'s fire. Without her, the show's chemistry could implode. For ESPN, the situation is a reflection of a changing era. The network is battling cord-cutting, streaming competition, and talent retention issues. Big names like Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, and Michelle Beadle have all left before, and now Molly joins that list. But her departure feels different. It's a statement. A refusal to settle. As for Stephen A., his brand remains as powerful as ever, but not untouched. The backlash to his remarks may linger, especially among fans who feel he crossed a line. For someone who prides himself on loyalty and leadership, the optics weren't great. In the end, Molly Qerim's exit isn't just a media headline, it's a story about power, value, and respect. She walked away from one of the biggest shows in sports not because she couldn't handle it, but because she believed she deserved better. Whether or not she proves that belief right will depend on what happens next.